Good evening, everyone. I am Kermit the Frog, and welcome to the London Comedy Film Festival at BFI South Bank. You know, it's great to have a festival that really celebrates comedy. Well, because the thing about making people laugh is that you have to make it look easy. But did any of you see Tyrannosaur? I didn't laugh a single time. And awards always go to the serious actors. Now, have you seen Iron Lady? You know, it took Meryl Streep 3 months to learn that part. Of course, it would have taken Piggy 6. And Shane? Everybody says, oh, he's so brave to go naked. Listen, folks, I've been going naked since 1955. You think it's easy to stay in this kind of shape? So anyhow, thank you, Loco, for choosing our movie to open your festival. And I would personally like to thank our wonderful director, Mr. James Bobin, as well as my co-stars, Amy and Jason, and, of course, all my fellow Muppets. And I'd like to thank all of you guys because, well, I guess comedy isn't comedy unless there's someone there to laugh. And if you're Fozzie Bear, not even then. So do you all want to see the movie? I can't hear you. No, I mean, I can't hear you. I'm on videotape. Anyhow, hey, everybody, it's the Muppets.
Disney are now the owners of the Muppets.
They are.
And how do you persuade them to let you kind of take possession of the sort of the Henson family jewels, so to speak?
I had a very specific vision about how to do this. I mean, I've been doing a show on HBO called Flight of the Conchords for about 5 years before this movie.
I've heard of that one.
Oh, people have heard of it. Good. Good. It's on BBC 4 apparently, and this guy. And that was a musical comedy about these two guys from New Zealand who are very kind of innocent and sweet and charming, who sing songs, and those things all apply, I think, for Muppets as well. And so when I found out they were making a Muppet movie, and I got a very simple email from my agent saying, "Do you like the Muppets?" And I sent an email back saying, yes, who doesn't like the Muppets? And from there I had meetings and I sort of talked about, you know...
That could have gone so badly, couldn't it?
Yeah, of
that
course.
One-line email.
No, I could have just said, what are you talking about? Forget it. You know,
hate the Muppets.
Yeah, I hate
okay,
them. And that's it. No job. But I went in and talked about the Muppets and my great love of them, because I watched them. I'm old enough to watch them the first time round back in the 70s.
Yeah, so I get on.
Yeah. And then I used to watch, you know, on my granny's big old, you know, TV in her living room with the wooden sides and a great big glass front, and I'd watch it like Walter watches at the beginning when Walter runs up to the TV and watches it really close. That's how I watched the Muppet Show. Oh. And it really did feel like my 4-year-old brain on TV. So I absolutely loved that show. And so the chance to work with those guys and having done Conchords felt like a very natural progression. It felt like it was my area of expertise, if you will, to a degree. I mean, so I was very confident with what I would do. And I think I sort of sold Disney on that, and that was why I'm here.
I think a lot of people who are real fans of the show from way back in the 70s and the films that followed, sure, I think felt that probably they were a little unloved in recent years, and probably some of the recent kind of TV specials and films haven't been quite as special as they should have been.
No, my great concern was to do them justice. I remember why I loved them as a kid, and I wanted to bring that back, because I have a 4-year-old daughter now, and she didn't know who they were, and that just felt wrong. Like, she didn't know the Muppets are. It's ridiculous. And so this film had to be something that I would enjoy as a fan, and somebody who knows them very well, but also for her, who has never heard of the Muppets. And so I had to just make a film whereby they were great now, and show them being funny and irreverent and charming and, you know, singing your songs now, rather than just saying, oh, remember the 70s when the Muppets great. So it couldn't just be about nostalgia. It had to have an element of that to it, but also at the same time feel contemporary. So I wanted to bring something of the Conchords to this, and hence obviously I had my friend Brett McKenzie to write the songs, and that worked out all right.
And it's now an Oscar-nominated film?
It is, yes. No, we've got an Oscar nomination on Tuesday, so that's very exciting. Thank you.
And are you a Muppet or a man?
I'm a Muppety man.
You're a Muppety man. A man Muppet.
Or a very manly Muppet, I can't decide.
I mean, you were just talking then about something that's quite interesting, which is trying to get that balance right between keeping the kind of die-hard fans comfortable with the nostalgia, but also actually, you know, I mean, unveiling for a whole new generation. Yeah,
well, the thing we decided to do with that was that when I read the script, Walter was a very central character, but I thought it was a good idea because through Walter, if you don't know who the Muppets are, he can kind of introduce you to them. He said he's a fan, and everyone's a fan of something. So he can say, this is Gonzo, he does this. This is Kermit, he does this. But if you are a huge fan of the Muppets, you basically are Walter. That is you. And so you understand what he's going through as well. So him as the sort of central hero of the film helps both sides. You know, people love the Muppets, people have no idea who they are, kind of understand the film.
And Walter, I mean, obviously an interesting character in that you were playing with existing characters that people knew.
Yes.
But you actually were creating a new character. And that's,
well, because the natural reaction to a new character is that I don't like him. He's not like the other guys. So we were very careful with Walter to make sure he was as likable as possible.
Did people like Walter?
Thank you. That's very important because obviously there's always there's an episode of The Simpsons where they create a new character called Poochie, who is a skateboarding ninja dog, because that's what a focus group tells them to do. So I want to do the exact opposite of that and make a character which was very true to what I thought the Muppets were. And I thought the best way to do that was through some sort of fan, because we know what a fan is.
That's a massive pressure, isn't it? Actually going back to
because I knew before this project I knew nothing about puppets at all. I'd never actually worked with them ever before, so it was an exponential learning curve. But one of the first things I asked about was what's the most expressive form of puppetry, and they said, well, Kermit is basically a sock puppet. So I said, well, Walter should be the same, because with a sock puppet you have the maximum amount of flexibility with your hand to create different sorts of feelings. Like when you see Steve do Kermit, I think you think that Kermit is thinking, and Kermit is just Steve's hand in a sock, and that is such an amazing thing. And
what do you mean?
Oh, sorry. Nothing. Forget it. Nothing. But with Walter, it's the same thing, because obviously Walter's kind of us in the film, watching the film around us, and so he had to really emote and be the guy that we felt for, and almost were channeling our emotions through him. So he had to be a very emotional character. So I said, well, let's make him a sock puppet with some little ears and maybe some sticky up hair, and yeah, it was fun. And I wanted to give him a little blue suit because I thought he's basically like he is 30, Walter. He's not a kid. He's the same age as Jason Segel. He's his brother, and so I thought he should be this kind of but Segel's this classic man-child kind of character, and so I wanted Walter to be a puppet man-child. Hence the suit. He wears a suit because he thinks it's grown up.
And as a first-time director,
yes, like a challenge.
It's a challenge anyway, isn't it?
Sure.
It's just making a film.
Sure, just getting it done at all, of course.
But when you're kind of having to kind of hide the bits that make the Muppets and sort of,
Yes. Well, the thing about the Muppets is that what I always thought would be interesting is if you were to have a second camera, if you will, behind the main principal camera, shooting like 10 feet behind what we're filming and filming around what we're doing, because this should appear effortless. It should appear like a real world whereby Muppets and humans coexist, and that's fine, and no one talks about it, and that's just the way the world is. But obviously, to achieve that illusion, there's a huge amount of work that goes around it outside the frame. So if you had that other second camera, you could see the tricks we're pulling all the time, and then you feel very sorry for us because it's very hard.
Because I remember back in the original film when Kermit's riding a bicycle, and
it's crazy.
Was a big wow moment.
It is.
Kermit's got legs.
It is, and it's that thing that these days wow moments are very hard to do because everyone just goes, oh, it's a computer, and that's it, they're dead, basically. So you have to go really big. So with this, I was less concerned with producing that than I was trying to get the characters to be funny in a room, basically. And that's where we are. But I love that scene with Kermit cycling the bike because it was something people still talk about today. How did they do that? And it was a very simple way of doing it. They used, broomsticks and wires. And with this film, I kind of kept that idea where it was very low tech. And often when you see the full body Muppets in this film, they are remote control Muppets, literally like It's a Small World after all, like that, like really very low tech. And the remote control for it is actually like a remote control plane or car, runs on AA batteries. It's the super simple, basic way. But it somehow, with this film, it fits and it feels right because the film is very low tech and a bit organic-y, and they're very touchy-feely, which I love about them.